I've realized that there's something wrong with the American dream, and the best way to describe this is what my dad tells me every time I come home to visit. He always tells me a story of being born in a small village in India. His village was poor, but they had an open door policy with their neighbors, and everyone knew each other. And my dad growing up was a part of the community. And then he went off to college to a nearby town and graduated, got married to my mom, and then moved to Kenya. As he went to Kenya, he worked hard to climb the social ladder and built his own business, and that allowed him to buy his own home. And for the first time, his neighbors weren't as close as his village from India, but my family had a lot of friends, so they created a small community. When he moved to America, where for 9 years he struggled to move up that social ranks and earn a solid dollar, to a point where now we live in this neighborhood in Connecticut. And this neighborhood we've lived in for 9 years, and every house on the street looks the same. And to be honest with you guys, I've only talked to three of my neighbors during this whole time span. And that doesn't make any sense, right? Because this is America. And this country we know as the land of freedom, this land of opportunity, this country that binds us together by law and sees us as equal. This country allows us to earn a solid amount of money and buy all these cool things, but at the end of the day, it could leave you feeling isolated, unfulfilled, and depressed. And that got me really interested when my dad always told me this story because I looked at the suicide rates in America, and there are about 12 out of 100,000 people that commit suicide every single year. But then you look at countries like Mexico, Iraq, Syria, have suicide rates significantly lower of 4, 1.7, and zero point 0.4 out of the 100,000 people, respectively. It's interesting because countries that are depicted by the media as completely in social or political turmoil have significantly less suicide rates than the United States. Isn't that kind of interesting? In this week's book, Tribe on Homecoming and Belonging by Sebastian talks about just this. He mentions this in the book. When Europeans started to move into America for the first time, something really interesting happened. And as Ben Franklin says in his letter, white captives who were liberated from the Indians were almost impossible to keep at home. Thou ransomed by their friends and treated with all imaginable tenderness to prevail with them to stay among the English. Yet in a short time they became disgusted with our manner of life, and they took the first good opportunity of escaping again into the woods. How is it that where Europeans who have a far superior lifestyle lose to the Native American lifestyle, which is not changed in the last 15,000 years? In the book, a Frenchman named Hector talked about what Indians have compared to the Europeans, and he says there must be in their social bond something singularly captivating and far superior to anything to be boasted among us. And he's right. There's a theory of self determination, and this theory pretty much says that humans need three basic things to be happy. The first is they need to feel competent at what they do. And the second is they need to feel authentic in their lives. And the last one is they need to feel connected with others. Let me repeat the last one. They need to feel connected with others. And that, my friends, is what everyone tells me that is missing in this country. My brother-in-law who moved here from India which now makes 50 times more than he did in India, has a house and a car, told me, I feel like there's no social aspect of life here. All you do is work, go home, and do it all over again the next day. Or my friend who recently graduated from college, who lives in Philadelphia, told me, yeah, I don't even talk to my neighbors. That's not what we do here. So going back to the suicide statistics, I'm not trying to say that the lack of social community is the main reason for all these deaths, but there might be a small factor. In the book, Sebastian discusses how during civil wars in Northern Ireland, the suicide rate in Belfast dropped by 50%. Depression in both men and women dropped significantly in both genders. But why? Sebastian suggests that war might have positive effect on people and bringing people, all types, regardless of their social status, together for one common goal, which is to live and survive. And this might explain why countries like Iraq and Syria might have such a low suicide rate. So where do we go from here? If you can't bring a whole country like the United States to live in one community, which is slightly communist, I get it, what do we do? Maybe we can build a smaller community with the people around us. In the art of being mindful, we need to understand when all said and done, our happiness will be judged by not how much we have or what we own, but the magnitude of our personal connections with people. So go say hi to your neighbors, go smile to random strangers, even take it a step further and go have a genuine conversation with them. Ask more intentional questions like, what are you grateful for? Or what are you excited about recently? Because it's in these connections with people is where we build our self worth.